Parallel ninja worlds collide, Empire vs Altered Konoha. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 81. The Empire's Red Sand Scorpion, Gundam Unit 02. According to the comments, we will try to distinguish between Imperial Kakashi and Ninja Kakashi. If you think there is any problem with this, please raise it in the comments. Currently, there are 7 people from the Empire who came to the number 1 ninja world: Namikaze, Kakashi, Hashirama, Obito, Raza, Itachi, Neji. After Imperial Raza came to Sunagakure. The first thing he did was to control all those who might win over people to oppose him as the Kaze Shadow. Among them, the 2 most important people are Chiyo and Ebizo. However, Imperial Raza only controlled the 2. Chiyo on the Empire side also has a very high status. It is not appropriate to use too drastic means when Chiyo here does not seriously hinder the Empire's path. However, it is not difficult to let Elder Chiyo and others accept him as a visitor from Otherworld to control Sunagakure. After all, there is Scorpion, Chiyo's grandson. The grandson who has been defecting for so many years. Imperial Luosha threw Scorpion to Chiyo. How could Chiyo have the mind to worry about anything else? I reunited them. Elder Chiyo couldn't even thank me enough. Ahem. Lord Fengying. Elder Chiyo walked into the office, looked at the fake Luosha sitting in Fengying's seat, coughed lightly and said, I heard from Scorpion that he seems to have a chance to go to the Empire through the dragon veins later. I don't know if I can also have this opportunity to accompany Scorpion? Originally, after knowing that Luosha was a fake, she wanted to object. But in the end, this fake from Otherworld sent her grandson directly here. Chiyo felt that she was caught in the act. This is a grandparents' reunion. But the result? Now, these people are actually arranging for Scorpion to go to Otherworld again? How long has it been since she and Scorpion's grandparents and grandchildren reunited on April 13th? How can she tolerate such a thing? But, it is impossible to resist. Let's not talk about whether there is hope of successfully resisting in terms of strength. Now, the power of the entire Sunagakure, even the Wind Country, has been concentrated in the hands of this fake Luosha. She is just an elder of Sand Shinobi who has not been involved in affairs for many years and is now under house arrest. What can she use to resist? So, resistance is impossible. The only way to think about it is to change. Doesn't Scorpion want to go to Otherworld to have a look? Then why don't I just go there too? This matter is a bit difficult. Empire Luosha held his chin with both hands and frowned slightly. On the one hand, if one more person is sent, the Empire will have to spend more. On the other hand, sending Scorpion to the Empire has been approved by the Empire and reported. And Elder Chiyo, the Empire does not have permission to send you to the Empire now. As soon as he finished speaking. Opposite. Elder Chiyo's heart was immediately lifted up. Lord Fengying, can you apply to the Empire again? Elder Chiyo felt that he had lost all his face now, and said shamelessly, as for the consumption, maybe I can make up for it myself. As he spoke, Chiyo felt guilty. What can she use to make up for it? Although she doesn't know enough about these people from the Otherworld Empire, she can at least be sure that what they can master is definitely far more than the 5 major ninja villages in this world combined. Tut. The only thing that can be used now is probably the 10 puppets of the 10 people of the near Matsu. Chiyo estimates that even if she gives this kind of thing away, the other party may just treat it as a toy. It's better not to humiliate yourself. As for consumption, I can help solve this problem. Rosa of the Empire lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then raised his head and said, well, let's do this. For the sake of our Imperial academician Chiyo, I will try my best to help you, but I'm not sure if I can do it, so be prepared. Okay. Chiyo was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. It's good to be able to give it a try. It is said that this fake Luosha is the head of the Wind Island in that empire. I think his words should have some weight, right? Chiyo was grateful and went back to wait for news. And in the office of the Kazekage, Baki, Kakuzu, and Gaara, the 3 siblings, all looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Fit. Temari said uncertainly, is she being tricked? Mise. Baki looked at the new Kazekage-sama sitting in the Kazekage's seat with awe. This Luosha-sama from the Otherworld. Really amazing. Not only is he powerful, he is even more terrible in calculating and controlling people. Baki was already shocked enough when he saw the Empire's Luosha controlling Sunagakure and usurping the power of the Wind Country. And now, the elder Chiyo, who has a high prestige in Sunagakure, can almost be said to be a man of wisdom. In front of the new Kazekage, he was completely controlled. AD. Rosa of the Empire chuckled and shook her head. You seem to underestimate this elder Chiyo. She may have guessed that I might be tricking her, but what can I do? Now she is asking me for help, and I am indeed helping her. When it comes to thoughts and calculations, the smart people in the two worlds may not be much different. However, the key to the problem is that the Empire is much stronger than this ninja world. In the face of an exaggerated gap in strength, a little calculation is meaningless. Even if he is also using various routines and calculations to control the power of the Wind Country, this is also to control the Wind Country more easily and smoothly. Of course, the other reason is to avoid the attention of the hidden boss in this world as much as possible. These routines are so complicated. Temari couldn't help but sigh. If you are interested, you can learn these. Imperial Luosha waved his hand and said, well, it's time to go. It's time to guide you three in practice today. During this period of time, except for work, he spent the rest of his time accompanying Gaara and his three siblings. It can be regarded as making up for the debt left by the inhuman self in this world. The center of the ancient city of Lulan. Why are you here too? The scorpion of the red sand said with disgust, you are so old, and you still go to Otherworld. Aren't you afraid that your body can't stand it? It's so annoying. Go to Otherworld by yourself. The elder of the family, an old lady at that, had to come with me. It's troublesome just thinking about it. Ijigig. Chiyo smiled indifferently and said, Grandma, my body is completely fine now. Scorpion, calculate your age, you are almost 30 years old now, you are not still in the rebellious period, right? Scorpion of the red sand instantly felt his face darken, shut up. It's better to go alone. This old lady is really annoying. 1313. Kakuzu next to the two coughed twice and said, please be prepared, I will contact the Empire immediately and prepare to start the time-space transmission. Somewhat unexpected. Scorpion, this guy, actually has such a side in front of his relatives. This is the number one Ninja World employee no. B00001, Kakuzu. Kakuzu contacted the Empire through the standard watch equipped by the Empire's Luosha, two time-space transmission personnel, Scorpion and Chiyo. Please ask the Empire to open the transmission array. The Red Sand Scorpion was speechless. Kakuzu, you guys have adapted to your position very quickly? Now that he works for that Imperial Raza, he has become extremely skilled. The teleportation array will be activated immediately. Kakuzu did not respond, and said goodbye to Scorpion. I wish you two a pleasant journey. Swish. Under the earth, a brilliant light rose. The dazzling light rushed into the sky, completely engulfing Scorpion and Chiyo. After an unknown amount of time, passed through a strange passage. Scorpion and Chiyo recovered. The following begins to distinguish Scorpion and Chiyo from the two worlds. Scorpion looked around. Is it the other world? It seems to be an unusually huge room. It should be a huge base, right? And in front. You, who are you? Chiyo looked at the familiar young man opposite and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Hey. The Imperial Scorpion smiled and greeted the two, Grandma from another world, and me from another world, hello. He had known that the two were coming, and now he came to greet them specially. Said. The Imperial Scorpion kept looking at the Ninja Scorpion. His brows gradually frowned. Rix? The Imperial Scorpion frowned and guessed, could it be that you transformed your entire body into a puppet? The heart position. This is your current core, does it provide power? That's right. The Ninja Scorpion said bluntly, staring at himself in another time and space opposite, and asked, what do you think of this? He transformed his entire body into a puppet. After hearing about this, almost everyone he met before thought he was crazy. I don't know if the self in another world can understand him a little better. Well, it's not easy to evaluate. The Imperial Scorpion pondered for a moment and said, I can only say that your idea is very bold. But the problem is, okay, I'll be frank, you're too backward. The people from the various research institutes and scientific research institutions in the Empire. Everyone has all kinds of bold ideas. But boldness does not mean it is feasible. Some ideas just look impressive, but in fact, they are nothing when it comes to operation. Ninja Scorpion's face turned black. You said I'm backward? He used to be Sunagakure's genius puppeteer. More than 10 years after he defected from Sunagakure, Sunagakure's juniors are still playing with the puppets he had in sand leftovers from the shinobi period. In terms of puppet-making skills, Ninja Scorpion asked himself that no one in the ninja world could compare to him. I'll just ask one question. Imperial Scorpion pointed at Ninja Scorpion's heart and said, your puppet body is powered by the core in your heart, so the upper limit of your body's power has been determined by the upper limit of this core. How much power can a mere flesh and blood core provide? Even if I have some talent in another world. But with my original talent, I can't reach the level of Super Shadow at most. It's just a power core that is not even at the level of Super Shadow. You have seen the nano chakra armor of those people in the advanced team before, right? Imperial Scorpion thought for a while and gave an example. That armor is powered by the chakra power reactor I made. How do you think it compares to your core? Ninja Scorpion paused. That chakra armor. He still remembers it vividly. It can fly in the air and at super high speed by jetting air in the opposite direction. Before, he and Deidara drove the clay bird and saw Hyuga Neji driving the chakra armor and coming to them from the end of their vision in an instant. The armor can have such a terrifying speed, all thanks to the chakra power reactor. And the core of his transformed puppet body. It is impossible to provide that level of power. What's more, my chakra power reactor can still be replaced. The Imperial Scorpion continued, moreover, that is only the latest version of the mass-produced version, and it will continue to be updated in the future. What about yours? What generation version is your core? The Ninja World Scorpion was completely speechless. What about updating? After completing this regeneration core, he has never done this. This is his life, how dare he move it casually? In fact, after completing the transformation of his own human puppet, all that Ninja Scorpion did afterwards was to make his puppet body and other puppet collections more sophisticated in terms of internal machinery and weapons. As for the regeneration core, it has never been touched again. Oh, forget it, let's not talk about this. Imperial Scorpion waved his hand and said, you came here this time, you should want to see what our ninja world has made, right? It just so happens that I brought my personal collection this time. As he said, Imperial Scorpion led Ninja Scorpion and Ninja Chio to the outside of the base. Outside the space-time transmission base. On the open apron. There is a humanoid behemoth, tens of meters high, standing on the apron. What is that? Ninja Chio's face changed slightly, guessing, it can't be a statue, right? But it doesn't look like it? That humanoid behemoth looks like it is made of some very special metal. Statues shouldn't be made like this, right? 5.7 aside. Ninja Scorpion was also very curious and looked at himself in this time and space. Hee. Imperial Scorpion smiled proudly, stretched out his hand to the distant Gundam and said, this is what I just said, my most precious personal collection, Gundam number 2. Ninja Scorpion and Ninja Chio were shocked. Came to the front of the number 2, which was dozens of meters high. Imperial Scorpion operated it a few times, and the armor on the chest of the number 2 slowly unfolded and landed on the ground, forming a staircase shape. Okay, go up. Imperial Scorpion stretched out his hand and gestured. I thought before that if I asked you to take a plane or airship to the capital of the Wind State, it seemed a bit too cliché. So, just go with me on the Gundam number 2. Enter the cockpit of Gundam number 2. Ninja Scorpion had a fiery expression on his face, looking around, and kept asking various questions. This Gundam Unit 2. It's just right for him. He couldn't help drooling just thinking about it. It's about to start. Imperial Scorpion entered the central ellipsoidal Gundam cockpit, and the entire Gundam shook instantly. This Unit 2 also uses the chakra power reactor as the core, but it is not the mass-produced version of the chakra armor. Soon, the steel behemoth, tens of meters high, slowly took off. Through the display screen inside the Gundam, you can clearly see the outside world from all angles. How do you operate this Unit 2? Ninja Scorpion had a fiery expression on his face, and asked the Imperial Scorpion in the small cockpit, can you teach me, let me try it too? No. Imperial Scorpion sitting in the Gundam cockpit flatly refused, I can fly the Gundam now, but I have passed the special aviation license issued by His Majesty, and you don't have this qualification. If you give the Gundam to someone else to drive casually, then His Majesty will revoke his license. By then, he won't even have a place to cry. Episode 82. The Empire's technology of resurrection. Life solidification technology. My Gundam Unit 2 can directly connect to the brain nerves through instruments. The Imperial Scorpion was in the cockpit and introduced to the Ninja World Scorpion and Ninja World Chio outside. In this way, after my brain reacts, the corresponding parts of this Gundam Unit 2 can directly react accordingly. Said. The Imperial Scorpion also demonstrated it. First, several small probes were launched from Unit 2, accompanying Unit 2 to fly forward. Then, the Imperial Scorpion controlled Unit 2 and made various movements in the air. These images were displayed on the display screen in the cockpit through small probes. Ninja Scorpion's eyes were almost red. Your Gundam control method seems to be the same as my human puppet? Traditional puppeteers use 10 fingers to send out chakra threads to connect and control puppets. But his human puppets are different. He can directly and completely control the human puppet's body by transferring his regeneration core to different human puppets. No chakra threads are needed, and the control of human puppets is like controlling his own body. This is also one of the advantages of his human puppets. Well, it looks like the same principle. Imperial Scorpion thought about it, shook his head, and explained, I can probably understand the operation method of the human puppet you mentioned, but you still control the biological body of the human puppet through the biological structure of the regeneration core. They are still at the biological level. Those human puppets, although they have been modified and equipped with a large number of mechanical devices. But overall, they are still the original flesh and blood. Then how did you do this? Ninja Scorpion asked curiously. This is a little difficult to explain to you. Imperial Scorpion said with some distress, if you want to understand the control method of this Gundam, you first need to have a sufficient understanding of the human brain and brain nerves. I control the Gundam by directly using my brain to transmit the consciousness signal through the instrument and transmit it to the Gundam host. Then, the Gundam host controls the various structures of the Gundam and makes corresponding actions according to the signals transmitted from my brain. After listening to Imperial Scorpion, Ninja Scorpion was almost confused. What is this? Can the brain signal be transmitted through the device? 11. Not only must it be transmitted, but it must also be immediately controlled through the host to make the Gundam move. So complicated. But it's also very interesting. How did you come up with this Gundam? Ninja Scorpion thought for a while and asked. Oh? This. Imperial Scorpion instantly became interested and explained with great interest, in the beginning, it was because I felt that the human body and the ninja body were too fragile. Even the Super Kage level strongmen are still like this. Although the human flesh and blood body can burst out powerful power through chakra, it is still stretched in terms of defense. So, why are you obsessed with the flesh and blood body? Wouldn't it be better to change it to a mechanical body made of metal? Oh, I understand. Ninja Scorpion suddenly realized, your chakra armor should also be developed based on this idea, right? Yes, that's right. Imperial Scorpion nodded with satisfaction. It's really worthy of being myself in another world. Although my technical level is very low and I have taken a detour, I can still understand myself better. Chakra armor, this was originally developed by the Snow Country in the past Ninja Village era. Imperial Scorpion recalled, however, based on the original Snow Country version of chakra armor, I changed it into a full-body armor, and used a chakra power reactor to enhance the power output. In addition, there is also material technology, which has been iterated for many versions before it developed into the current nano-chakra armor. In addition, if you want to increase the output capacity of chakra armor, you can add some weapons developed by the Scientific Ninja Tool Department on it. Listen to the Imperial Scorpion's introduction, bit by bit. Ninja Scorpion seemed to understand what he was saying, and he would stop and ask questions from time to time. It had only been such a short time since he came to this world, but he felt that his cognition had been completely refreshed. In his mind, all kinds of ideas were surging out like crazy. However, what Ninja Scorpion was most interested in was the Gundam Unit 2 they were riding now. Do you have any other Gundams like this? Ninja Scorpion couldn't help but ask eagerly, can you help me get one so that I can try it? In the cockpit, Imperial Scorpion suddenly fell silent. Ninja Scorpion's face showed disappointment. Is there a problem? Could it be that special aviation license? Is this difficult to get? This Gundam project is a project plan I came up with a few years ago. Imperial Scorpion said a little disappointedly, but, in the end, this project has now been stopped by His Majesty. So, this Gundam Unit 2 is now just his collection. Ninja Scorpion was stunned. Why? Such a fun thing. Why was it stopped? Shouldn't it be vigorously developed? I made a total of 2 Gundams during the application and project establishment stage of this plan. Imperial Scorpion recalled, after making it, I used Gundam Unit 01 to conduct a strength test. As a result, it failed the test. Gundam Unit 01 and Unit 02, this is what he made with the most advanced material technology in the Empire. But these 2 Gundams have no problem fighting people below the Super Shadow. But when encountering the Super Shadow level, especially the strength of the Super Shadow peak, these 2 Gundams are a bit weak. Gundam Unit 01 has been damaged in the Super Shadow level strength test. Imperial Scorpion said helplessly, if it is the strength of the Super Shadow peak, I am afraid that after a battle, the Unit 01 will be scrapped. And a Super Kage level warrior can easily recover his chakra after it is consumed. But if the Gundam is scrapped, it will cost a lot of money and time to repair it again. Super Shadow peak power? Chio Ninja interrupted and asked, what level of power is this? Imperial Scorpion thought for a while. According to the way you can understand, it is probably the peak strength of the first Hokage of Konoha village before his death, that is, the strength of the first Hokage during the Battle of the Valley of the End. Huh? Chio Ninja was stunned. For a moment, she felt her body was a little stiff. She turned her head mechanically and looked at the Xiangao they were riding now. This big iron lump. Can it actually fight the first Hokage? Although it will be scrapped after the fight. But that is also the power to fight the god of ninja. Is this Gundam so strong? Scorpion of the ninja world said in shock. What is strong? Imperial Scorpion curled his lips. If it is about output capacity, it is okay. But the problem is that the material strength is not good, it can't withstand a fight at all. If it is a 6-pass level strongman, it is estimated that this Gundam can be torn apart in minutes. The current core goal of the Empire is to prepare for the future Otsutsuki clan. And if this Gundam can't fight against the 6-pass level strongman, it can be said that it is useless. Imperial Scorpion couldn't help shaking his head and said, so, although it is a pity, I can understand why His Majesty stopped this project. If you want to restart the Gundam project, you have to wait until there is a breakthrough in the research on basic materials. Aside. Ninja Scorpion nodded slowly. Although he didn't quite understand how powerful the 6-pass level masters were. However, being able to tear apart something that could fight the god of ninja in a matter of minutes, you can imagine how terrifying it would be. Oh, that's right. Ninja Scorpion suddenly thought of something, his eyes lit up, and asked, the Unit 01 you mentioned before, is it still there? If it's broken and you don't want it, can you give it to me? Even if it's scrapped, it's fine. It can still be used after repairing it. Imperial Scorpion looked at himself in another time and space across the cockpit glass, sneered, and said, don't think about it, after the Unit 01 was repaired, His Majesty took it over to collect it. Ninja Scorpion had a question mark on his forehead. What the hell is this? Didn't the Emperor of the Empire kill the Gundam project? Why did he take Unit 01 away for his own collection? Your Majesty told me at the time. Imperial Scorpion said with a serious face, although this Gundam project is too expensive and resource-intensive, and has limited effect, since the materials of Unit 01 have been spent, just spend some more money to repair Unit 01. He was touched. Although his project failed, His Majesty still agreed with him. But the result? After Unit 01 was repaired, His Majesty took Unit 01 away. Imperial Scorpion sighed and said helplessly, I am now looking forward to the improvement of basic material technology, so that I can restart the Gundam project. While speaking. Soon. Below, the capital of the Wind State was already visible from afar. Ninja Chio looked at the scene on the display screen and couldn't help but secretly exclaimed, the Wind Country in this world. Wind State is so prosperous? She was observing the scene below while riding this Gundam just now. The vegetation coverage rate of this Wind State in this world is abnormally high. It is even more fire country than the fire country in their ninja world. Ninja Chio has heard the Imperial Scorpion explain this. It is said that the terrain of this ninja world has been reshaped by the Emperor of the Empire. The terrain, geography, and climate of the Wind State are completely different from their ninja world. The Wind State is rich in various mineral resources. The Imperial Scorpion looked as if it was a matter of course. Oil and natural gas, let's not talk about these. Even chakra-related resources, such as dragon veins and grayer stone veins, these are also in the west of the wind. The innate resources are so rich. It is difficult for the wind state not to develop. Landed at the airport of the capital of the wind state. Imperial Scorpion took the two of them around the capital of wind state. Imperial Scorpion looked at Ninja World Chio and said, "My grandmother Chio is usually busy with work, so she may not have much time, but my parents are fine, you will be able to see them later." When they heard this, Ninja World Scorpion and Ninja World Chio were shocked. They looked at each other, both with incredible expressions. My parents. I mean, in this world, my parents are still alive? Ninja World Scorpion became a little incoherent. Of course. Imperial Scorpion said, "Regarding your situation, I asked Governor Luo Sha before. Did your parents die in the Second Ninja World War?" "That's right." Ninja World Chio clenched his fists. "Damn Konoha's White Fang." "White Fang, is it Lord Sakumo?" Imperial Scorpion thought for a while, shook his head and said, "Alas, different worlds have a big gap in development." "Well, but the third Kazekage seems to be dead." On their side. In the Second Ninja World War, the young majesty killed the third Kazekage. Perhaps because of this, Sunagakure withdrew from the war earlier, and his parents survived luckily. In another ninja world, his parents died in the Second Ninja World War, and the third Kazekage fell into the hands of Ninja World Scorpion, triggering the Third Ninja World War. Ninja World Chio suddenly remembered something and asked, "I heard before that I in this ninja world seem to be an academician? And also developed the secret technique of Jisei reincarnation?" Imperial Scorpion was a little surprised. "That's right, this was originally a research project arranged by His Majesty for Grandma." Did Grandma Chio in both worlds drive 590 to issue Jisei reincarnation? But Imperial Scorpion thought for a while, looked at Ninja World Scorpion, and continued, "His Majesty later added a lot of things on this basis. From the very beginning, Jisei reincarnation, combined with Orochimaru's living corpse reincarnation, Senju Tobarama's soul imprisonment technique, Mount Miyaboku's immortal talisman, Rinnegan's Rinne Tensei technique, Six Paths immortal technique Xiong power, and so on. It took more than 10 years in total." Imperial Scorpion said with admiration, "Finally, Your Majesty has successfully combined all these things together and completed the final life solidification technology. A technology that breaks the boundary between life and death." Life solidification? Ninja World Scorpion's face changed drastically. This technology. Can it be resurrected? If this is true, then wouldn't it be possible for me to resurrect my parents if I wanted to? It can indeed be resurrected. Imperial Scorpion nodded and said, "Although I don't understand the life solidification technology, in general, it should be to use the power of yang release chakra and transform it into vitality." After combining a lot of technologies, the final life solidification technology greatly reduced the cost of performing the technique. No longer need to be like reincarnation, like Rinne Tensei, it requires life to be used. If we want this life solidification technology, what do we need to pay? Ninja Chio asked anxiously. On the side, Ninja Scorpion also had a similar look. Although life solidification technology does not require too much cost now. Imperial Scorpion shook his head and said, "But, resurrecting the dead at will disrupt the order of the living. Therefore, His Majesty still strictly restricts the application for the use of this technology. If you want to obtain a license to use it, you may need to make enough contributions to the Empire." Hearing this, Ninja Chio's heart moved slightly. Contribute to the Empire. What contributions can the two of them make to this Empire? It is basically impossible to make any contribution in this world. Their current understanding of this world is probably not as good as that of the children in this world. So, the so-called contribution to the Empire should refer to their original world? Thinking of this, Ninja Chio nodded secretly. She probably understood it. Isn't it just to ask them to be guides for the Empire, so that the Empire can occupy and conquer their ninja world? If before coming to this world, Ninja Chio might have been resistant to being guides. Well, now that he has truly seen the prosperity and advancement of this ninja world, especially after comparing it with the Wind Country and Sunagakure on their side, Ninja Chio has only one thought left. Quickly join the Empire. When the Empire takes over their ninja world in the future, at least the Wind Country and Sunagakure will definitely be better than before, right? Then what is there to worry about? they will definitely be guides. Episode 83, Furious Senju Tobarama, How did Konoha become so rotten? Main world. Chang Ye connected to the communication to another world on time in his office. Ahead. Swish, swish, swish. One after another, illusory holographic images appeared alternately. Everyone is here. Chang Ye looked at the 7 people who had already gone to Ninja World number 1, nodded and said, "Then, let's start the meeting. Tobarama, you will host it." "Yes." Senju Tobarama nodded and said. Now, he is in charge of the exploration of Ninja World number 1. The information about Otherworld obtained by the advanced team will be reported to him. And what the advanced team needs and what additional people need to be sent there will also be drafted by him and reported to Chang Ye for final approval. Now, Senju Tobarama has a general understanding of Ninja World number 1. Still in the Ninja Village era. It is the 60th year after the establishment of Konoha. There have been 3 Ninja World Wars in history. In Konoha Village, the former 4th Hokage died to seal 9 tails. His former student, Konoha's 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, succeeded to the throne of Hokage again. It's a lot of things that confuse him. Hatake Tsukumo, known as Konoha's White Fang in the number 1 Ninja World, is also the Empire's number 1 swordsman in the world. And in the number 1 Ninja World, according to the report of the advanced team, Hatake Tsukumo actually committed suicide because of the calculations of Konoha's high level, his good disciples? That's not all. 9 Tails Rebellion. Konoha lost the 4th Hokage and an adult 9 Tails Jinchuriki. As a result, more than 10 years have passed, and his useless disciples have not yet figured out the cause of the 9 Tails Rebellion. Also, after the 4th Hokage died, his son, the new 9 Tails Jinchuriki, was excluded, isolated, and bullied in Konoha since he was a child. And behind this, it seems that Sarutobi Hiruzen, his good disciple, is also responsible. But this is not over yet. Further on, there is the Uchiha genocide incident. As for the Uchiha clan, Senju Tobarama admitted that he was indeed hostile to the Uchiha clan, and during the Konoha period, he left behind a lot of policies to restrict and guard against the Uchiha clan. But that was just a restriction and precaution. It can only be considered as exclusion at most. Even though there was such a feud between him and the Uchiha clan, he never thought of exterminating the Uchiha clan. And in the number 1 ninja realm, the Uchiha clan was exterminated overnight by the son of the clan leader in Konoha village? This matter was bizarre and absurd from beginning to end. Senju Tobarama took a deep breath, retracted his thoughts from the information he had obtained before, and said in a deep voice, "The meeting begins. First, report the recent information about the number 1 ninja realm and the progress of each action one by one." Opposite. There were 7 illusory holographic images in order. Menma, Kakashi, Hashirama, Obito, Raza, Itachi, Neji. Well, let's start with me. Namake's Menma nodded and said, "There is not much new information. I have basically figured out everything about me in the ninja world. Well, except for the true situation of the 9 Tails Rebellion. He doesn't know where to check this for now. Menma has communicated with 9 Tails recently and asked about the true situation of the 9 Tails Rebellion. 9 Tails was a little reluctant to communicate with Menma at first. After all, this little yellow-haired guy from the otherworld has been tied up with adamantine sealing chains countless times. But with Menma's understanding of 9 Tails' personality, he easily smoothed out 9 Tails' fur and fooled him so much that he almost lost his mind. 9 Tails did speak about the true situation of the 9 Tails Rebellion. It was indeed controlled by a mysterious man with Sharingan that night. However, Ino had no idea about the identity of that mysterious man. He was only sure that it was not Uchiha Madara. Duh. Senju Tobarama nodded and said, "The truth of the 9 Tails Rebellion is relatively secondary. Your current focus should be on that Uzumaki Naruto, who is the reincarnation of Ashura Chakra in that time and space. And, according to your majesty, that Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke who came to us now, what are they, the protagonists of the era? These 2 people may be very important, and will involve the threshold of the Buddha's sending between the Empire and the number 1 ninja world. The higher this threshold, the stronger people the Empire can send over. At present, the time and space channel between the Empire and the number 1 ninja world cannot send the power of the 6th pass level. The current progress is very smooth." Menma nodded and reported, "With the help of Indra in this time and space, the influence of Ashura's will in Uzumaki Naruto's chakra is being quickly cleared. Once this stage is completed, I believe that we can turn Uzumaki Naruto into a guide for Shikwa." just based on Naruto's experience from childhood to adulthood. If there is no influence of Ashura's will, it would be strange if he didn't turn evil. Second, it was Kakashi's turn to report. As for me, I have basically reported clearly about my father's affairs in this time and space. Kakashi thought for a while and said, I am now in Konoha village, temporarily replacing me in this time and space. Before, Sarutobi Hiruzen sent me to investigate the abnormality of the dragon vein, but I pretended to investigate and fooled him. This is quite funny. Sarutobi Hiruzen sent someone to find out the abnormality of the dragon vein and see if there are any alien visitors. As a result, this task was directly entrusted to the alien visitor himself. I checked myself. Of course, this will not find any results. Sarutobi Hiruzen may have learned that there may be alien visitors in the dragon vein for some reason. Imperial Kakashi continued, that's why he sent me to investigate. However, according to my previous report, Sarutobi Hiruzen should have ruled out this speculation now. So, in the number 1 ninja world, those who now know about your existence. Senju Tobarama thought for a while and said, Orochimaru of that ninja world and the Akatsuki organization, should they be mainly these two sides? In this case, it doesn't seem to be a big problem. Orochimaru of the number 1 ninja world is a traitor. Akatsuki organization is a mercenary organization that has gathered a large number of S-level traitors. And with their credibility, even if they want to say something about the alien visitors, no one will believe it. That's right. Imperial Kakashi nodded and said, so, the existence of several of us and the Empire is still kept secret. Although, with their actions, I don't know how long it can be kept secret. Then, Senju Hashirama and Obito also reported in turn. One talked about the information of the various tailed beast Jinchuriki in this ninja world. The other talked about the recent construction of the transmission channel exit on the Dragon Vein. Sunagakure and Wind Country, I am currently making good progress. Imperial Raza reported, the power of the Wind Country is now gradually concentrating in my hands, but I have not made any major changes to Sunagakure and Wind Country. This may require the full conquest of this ninja world before it can be carried out. If you want to completely solve the problem of the Wind Country, the first thing you need to do is to deal with the environment and climate. And this, with his Super Kage level strength, is still not enough. Only a 6th level warrior can have the great feat of completely changing the surface structure of the earth. Next, it's Imperial Itachi's turn. I now have a general idea of the situation regarding the Uchiha genocide. Imperial Itachi said with a slightly gloomy face, it was indeed me in this time and space who was responsible for the genocide, but there should be other people assisting. In addition, the Konoha high-level officials knew about it in advance, and Shimura Danzo's root organization was also involved. In the Uchiha genocide, Shimura Danzo obtained a large number of 3 Tomo Sharingan. After that, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen symbolically punished Shimura Danzo and suspended him from his position, but Shimura Danzo still controls the root organization, and the symbolic suspension has basically no effect on him. Bit by bit, Imperial Itachi told all the information he had learned and possible guesses. And in the main world, Senju Tobarama's face became darker and darker. Uchiha genocide incident. Damn it. If the evil Uchiha really genocide because of infighting, that's fine. But it must not be because of the struggle between the Konoha high-level officials and Konoha's internal friction. It's the strength of Konoha. Uchiha people, no matter how extreme their personalities are the strength of Konoha. And Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, these good disciples of his, actually cut off their own arms and genocide the Uchiha clan in the village? No, what are they thinking? They just genocide the largest clan of Konoha in Konoha village. What will other ninja clans think? Won't they feel the loss of the lips and the teeth? How dare they do this? In addition, about my counterpart in this ninja world. Imperial Itachi continued, he seems to have some agreement with Konoha. After Uchiha, he was accused of exterminating his entire clan, defected from Konoha, and joined an organization formed by a mysterious person, namely Akatsuki. It seems that he joined Akatsuki to act as a spy for Konoha. However, from the intelligence I obtained from the root organization, he seems to have not been able to send back any intelligence. As for why he failed to send back intelligence, is it because he couldn't send it back, or did he betray Konoha and refuse to send back intelligence? He didn't understand this. Uchiha Itachi, the number 1 ninja world. What on earth is he thinking? Uchiha Obito looked puzzled. He took the initiative to exterminate his entire clan, and he took the blame. And not only did he take the blame, he continued to join Akatsuki and work undercover for Konoha? Isn't this too cruel? He has exterminated his entire clan, and he still has to work for Konoha. I can't understand it either. Imperial Itachi shook his head in silence. He couldn't understand himself, the number one ninja, and his father at all. What kind of brain circuits do these two have? I have one more thing about the Konoha high-level officials. Imperial Neji spoke up and told the incident of Cloud Shinobi and Hyuga that he had learned about before. As soon as he finished speaking. In addition to Chang Ye and Imperial Itachi who had known about this matter before. Everyone was completely stunned. This matter is even more ridiculous than the Uchiha genocide. During the peace talks, Cloud Shinobi was kidnapped by a member of the delegation in Konoha. After being shot dead, he turned around and asked Konoha to hand over the person. This alone is ridiculous and bizarre enough. What's even more bizarre is the reaction of Konoha's high-level officials. They actually handed him over. Cloud Shinobi. Senju Tobarama's red eyes suddenly became extremely cold, so, Hyuga Hisashi in the number one ninja realm, the younger brother of the Hyuga clan leader, actually committed suicide like this, and was given to Cloud Shinobi as a scapegoat? Empire Neji nodded silently. Boom. A burst of explosions was transmitted to the number one ninja realm through the communication. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Senju Tobarama smashed the table in front of him with a punch. He was still furious at this moment, and said angrily, "And Danzo, these bastards are all a bunch of trash." In his opinion, the Hyuga clans matter, no matter whether his bastard disciples are stupid or bad. But they must never do such a thing. It is better to go to war with Cloud Shinobi and suffer huge casualties than to do such a thing. Because the other party forced him to throw his own people out to die, and his own people hadn't done anything wrong. If they could do such a thing, how would the people in the village view those people in the upper echelons? The younger brother of the Hyuga clan leader could be thrown out to die in a minute. What should we do next time we encounter such a situation? Will all the ninja clans in Konoha and the ninjas in the village be in danger? Who knows if he will be the next scapegoat? Who will trust the upper echelons? Besides, even if the situation in Konoha was not good at that time, but wouldn't they dare to go to war with Cloud Shinobi? Aren't the forbidden techniques left by him for use at such times? At most, he could just use the reanimation jutsu. Even if he, and even his elder brother and sister-in-law, were all sent to impure world reincarnation, he would have no objection. Damn it. Why didn't those trash dare to fight Cloud Shinobi? Konoha, the number one ninja world, how come it has become so rotten? Senju Tobarama felt like he was about to collapse. Hatake Tsukumo Namake's Minato. These two people were also considered strong in the empire. In the end, in the number one ninja world, both of them died. Orochimaru, Hirako, these scientific research talents, all defected. The Uchiha clan was exterminated. The Hyuga clan, because of the death of Hyuga Hisashi, was probably offended to death. The Konoha Sannin, except for the two Orochimaru, basically, Ma Zhao, did not return to Konoha. What is left in Konoha? It seems that only his few useless disciples are left. Fuck. Senju Tobarama couldn't help but curse out loud, I shouldn't have covered their backs. No, I should have killed those useless people. In the number one ninja world. It has been almost 40 years since he died in the First Ninja World War. Almost 40 years have passed, and people like Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo still hold high-level positions, and at the same time, they have wiped out 10 generations of Konoha. Looking back now, maybe it's a good thing that your majesty killed those people in advance. Menma had a look of relief on his face. If it weren't for your majesty, maybe our ninja world would have developed into the number one ninja world. Chang Ye heard this, smiled, and said nothing. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen and others in the number one ninja world can't escape. Empire Neji gritted his teeth and said fiercely, throwing my father in this time and space out to die, I will never let them go. Me too. Empire Kakashi also nodded and said, I in this time and space really want to take revenge on those guys now. Our Uchiha clan is the same. Obito also hurriedly said, we have wiped out our Uchiha clan, those people in Konoha's high-level officials, and Uchiha Itachi in this time and space, they can't escape. 13. Empire Itachi nodded, thought for a while, and added, we also have to count Sasuke on our side now, he also wants to go back for revenge. And me in this time and space. Menma also hurriedly said, after I successfully persuade Naruto to rebel, he will definitely want to take revenge on Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others are seeking revenge. A group of people spoke at once. Suddenly, they all fell silent. So many people have grudges against Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others? But Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, each of them only has one life. Those people, it seems, are not enough for them to kill. Episode 84, Senju Tobarama, Uchiha Itachi, you're too conservative. Sarutobi Hiruzen and his people wiped out our Uchiha clan. Uchiha Obito argued unconvincedly, this is not just killing one or two people, this is the annihilation of the clan. Revenge for Sarutobi Hiruzen and his people should be done by our Uchiha clan, right? So, Naruto is the reincarnation of Ashura's chakra. Menma was also unwilling to give up, in terms of weight, it should be no worse than the Uchiha clan, right? And, according to your majesty, Naruto is still one of the protagonists of this era in the ninja world. In theory, Naruto should always be given a chance for revenge, right? A group of people, each saying their own thing. No one wants to give up. In the number one ninja world, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo have committed too many sins. Even if all the Konoha F4 are counted, this group of people who want revenge still have a small number of points. Can we pause for a moment? Kakashi suddenly interrupted, I understand that everyone wants to kill those bastards, but how to do it specifically? If we just kill them, it might be too easy for them, right? As soon as this was said, a group of people agreed. Just based on what those bastards did. How can they die happily? Impossible. In addition, we must pay attention to cooperating with the goals of the Empire. Itachi of the Empire thought calmly and said, we cannot let the revenge of a few individuals affect the overall situation of the Empire. They went to the number one ninja realm with a mission first. They are the advanced team of the Empire. Well, there is no conflict between these two things. Chang Ye, who had been listening before, suddenly said, what you are going to do now is all centered around the same goal, which is to increase the transmission threshold of the spacetime channel between the Empire and the number one ninja realm. Although there is no obvious danger in the number one ninja realm, the strength of the shadows of the 5 major ninja villages is nothing in front of the advanced team. But there are many hidden threats in the number one ninja realm. Even with the strength of the advanced team, they will still be powerless in the face of those threats. If you want to truly control and conquer the number one ninja world, you must send 6 pass-level strongmen there. At present, the threshold of the transmission channel is roughly between the peak of Super Shadow and the level of all things. Chang Ye held his chin with one hand and said leisurely, and this threshold is gradually rising with your actions. Hearing this, everyone was curious. Your Majesty, what is the relationship between our actions and the threshold of the transmission channel? Menma asked with some curiosity. The threshold of the spacetime transmission channel between the two worlds is 913, determined by the world will of the target world. Chang Ye smiled and explained, although I can force you to go to other worlds will reject you, the aliens. And to reduce this rejection, your actions must be in line with the will of the world. Well, maybe we should change the way we say it, not the will of the world, but the will of mankind, the will of life. The concept that determines the threshold of the channel and the degree of rejection of you by the world is the collective will of all the lives in another world. After saying this, some people present were almost confused. What is the will of the world and the will of life? What collective? What is this? Your Majesty means. Senju Tobarama narrowed his eyes and thought, our actions should conform to the overall will of the lives in another world, so that the rejection of us by another world will be reduced. Moreover, the threshold of the transmission channel will also increase, and the other world will be able to accept us to transmit stronger people. And now, the threshold of the transmission channel is indeed constantly increasing. This shows that the actions of these people in the advanced team are indeed in line with the world will of the number one ninja world. That's right. Chang Ye nodded, thought for a moment, and gave an example. For example, Uchiha Sasuke is one of the protagonists of the era of the number one ninja world. The longer he lives in our empire, the deeper his identification with us is, and the less the number one ninja world will reject us. And it's not just Uchiha Sasuke. In the number one ninja world, the more people who identify with the empire and the more people who guide the empire, the less the number one ninja world will reject the empire. So, the eyes of the Empire Itachi flickered slightly, and guessed, Your Majesty, what do you mean? We want to take revenge on Sarutobi Hiruzen and others, and such actions are in line with the will of this world. So, Your Majesty said that their desire for revenge does not conflict with the goals of the empire. The so-called world will, you can simply understand it as a will of life as a whole to survive and grow. Chang Ye explained, and Sarutobi Hiruzen and others, in their hands, Konoha village has become weak. So, you are targeting them, which is in line with the will of the collective life of the number one ninja world. Now, everyone present, including the 10 white belts, understands. Sarutobi Hiruzen and his gang killed so many people. Like the Uchiha clan, a great ninja clan that has been passed down for thousands of years, they all ended up in their hands. If we target them and kill them, it will be in line with the world will of the number one ninja world and will help the empire's goals. So, just do it. Originally, they planned to kill those bastards without delaying the empire's goals. And now, killing those bastards is completing the empire's mission. So how do we deal with them? Uchiha Obito said excitedly, how do we do it specifically? As soon as he finished speaking, a group of people fell silent. Isn't this back to the previous question? About how to do this specifically. Neji looked at Itachi and said, Senior Itachi thought of a plan before, I think it's feasible. Itachi hesitated a little, and when he saw everyone looking at him, he gritted his teeth and said what he had thought before. Control Sarutobi Asuma and kill the Fire Country daimyo. Then, the Fire Country, as well as other countries and ninja villages, will definitely put pressure on Konoha together to force Sarutobi Hiruzen to make a choice. But Itachi felt that the operation he had come up with was a little bit mean. The means seemed a little too dark. I think this method is very good. Neji nodded repeatedly, if Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't want to be the enemy of the world, he can only choose to give up his son. This situation is very similar to the situation of his father in the number one ninja world. If you don't want to be decent, you have to be forced to be decent. Such revenge is perfect. I think it should be possible. Rosa thought for a moment, nodded and said, anyway, we have to get rid of the daimyo. In this way, letting others take the blame and kill the daimyo can save some trouble. He did this before. Let Imperial Itachi and Imperial Neji disguise themselves as Ninja Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame, and plot against the entire family of the Wind Country daimyo. Not only was he not affected as the Wind Shadow, he could also take this opportunity to intimidate the ministers of the Wind Country and seize their power. It's perfect. A group of people were talking about it. Talking about the feasibility of this operation, they nodded repeatedly. Seeing this, Imperial Itachi was relieved. It's good. He felt that his use of the other party's son to force others might be too extreme. It seems that everyone can still accept it. Uchiha Itachi. Senju Tobarama crossed his arms, with a look of dissatisfaction on his face. Lord Tobarama? Imperial Itachi said cautiously, is there anything wrong with doing this? Not inappropriate. Senju Tobarama was stunned, shook his head, and said bluntly, I mean, your ideas are too conservative. Just based on what Sarutobi Hiruzen and his gang of bastards did. Killing them 100 times is not excessive. Fourth Hokage, his child was treated like that after his death, and his inheritance also fell into Sarutobi Hiruzen's family. After the Uchiha clan was exterminated, the inheritance of thousands of people also disappeared. Anyway, Uchiha Sasuke doesn't know where the inheritance went. Your thinking is completely limited. Senju Tobarama scolded, those bastards have brought disaster to Konoha. As a result, you want to retaliate against them now, but you are still looking back. Afraid that you have done something a little bit out of line. Can't your ideas be a little bolder? The corners of Imperial Itachi's mouth twitched slightly. It doesn't feel that he has done too much. He thought that what he did was too light and not radical enough. So, the previous plan. Neji looked eager to try, just follow this plan? Itachi thought for a while and said, I am now in the capital of the Fire Country in the number one ninja world. I have locked Sarutobi Asuma. Then we can start the action immediately. Use Sharingan to control Sarutobi Asuma, and then use him to assassinate the daimyo. In the process, if you are not careful, your identity will be exposed. If that's the case, I can cooperate with you. Rosa smiled and said, after your actions are over, I can ask Sunagakure and even the Wind Country to force Konoha's Lendi Shudaikage to give an explanation. And after he started this, it is estimated that other major countries and ninja villages will follow soon. I don't know if I can cooperate here. Kakashi said uncertainly, I am now replacing myself here, and I still have a certain status in Konoha village. Maybe I can help when the time comes. Me too. Neji also said hurriedly, I have already contacted Hyuga Hayashi, the head of the Hyuga clan here. He also hopes to abolish the caged bird system. I am sure I can win him over to our side. A group of people talked at once, brainstorming together, and perfecting the next plan. After the meeting. In Chang Ye's office. Your Majesty. Senju Tobarama handed over a document. I have sorted out the minutes of this meeting, including the next action plan. Duh. Chang Ye waved his hand indifferently, thought about something, and asked, Tobarama, how long will it take for the space-time transmission channel to accommodate the power of the level of Sunlua Wanxiang to be transmitted? Senju Tobarama frowned slightly. According to the current threshold increase rate, it will take about a month. This is already considered a very fast increase. At the beginning, the two-world transmission channel was barely able to reach the level of the peak of the Super Shadow. We still need to find a way to go faster. Chang Ye pinched his forehead and said, the sage of 6 paths of the number 1 ninja world, even Otsutsuki Ashiki, they don't know when they may notice our people. If that happens, it will be troublesome. Some things in the number 1 ninja world will be difficult for even the people in the advanced team to deal with. But we can't force the channel transmission threshold to increase. Senju Tobarama said helplessly. This, I have a way. Chang Ye suddenly smiled and said, maybe, well, we can let Hinata go and let her get stuck in a bug. Senju Tobarama couldn't understand. Hinata is a very talented little girl from the Hyuga clan. However, that little girl doesn't seem to have reached the level of Sunlua Wanxiang yet. How is your Majesty going to bug this? Ninja World Number 1. Konoha Village. Hokage Office. Sarutobi Hiruzen was smoking a pipe, frowning and looking worried. Beside him were Mito Kato Hamura and Udatane Koharu. As for Shimura Danzo, he is not here now. Before, Danzo wanted to apply for funds to rebuild the route, but was rejected by Sarutobi Hiruzen. He has not come to the Hokage building since then. The entire route organization was burned to ashes by Amaterasu's flames. The base was burned down, it can't be used. Now, Danzo only has Aburame Ryoma as his subordinate. The two are now plotting every day how to overthrow Sarutobi Hiruzen, thinking about whether they can contact Orochimaru or even other ninja villages, but in the end they can't come up with a feasible plan. In this regard, although Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't understand, he didn't care much. He also understood his old friend's thoughts. Of course, he understood, but he couldn't support him. However, Danzo is now almost a commander without troops. He only has the title of Hokage assistant, and almost nothing else. Even if Danzo wants to plot something now, he has no chance to do it. As for Sarutobi Hiruzen, he is now worried about other things. According to Kakashi's report, there is nothing abnormal about the dragon vein. Mito Kato Hamura said in a deep voice, also, the same is true for the Wind Country. The letter from the Wind Shadow did not mention any abnormal conditions of the dragon vein, nor any information about alien invaders. Now it should be concluded that Uchiha Itachi should have indeed rebelled. In his opinion, this is normal. After all, Uchiha Itachi has been a rebel ninja for several years. After joining the Akatsuki organization, who knows who would fool him and choose to betray Konoha and join other camps? The question now is, what should we do? Udatane Koharu couldn't help but sighed. Sunagakure has been writing to us to blame us, asking why we didn't deal with the rebellious ninjas in our village in time, and now the daimyo of the Land of Wind is in trouble. In fact, Sunagakure's accusation is secondary. After all, Sunagakure's strength is just that. It is difficult to pose any threat to Konoha. The main problem now is that the ministers from the Wind Country have been sending letters to question Konoha. After all, the daimyo is dead. And his whole family was murdered. For this kind of thing, the daimyo from the Fire Country has sent letters to question them. D. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed in worry. With Uchiha Itachi's strength, if we need to send people to hunt him down, we must send a lot of elite jonin. But it's difficult for Konoha to send enough people to hunt him down now. Besides, he knows too many secrets about Konoha. If he leaks these, it will be even more troublesome. Damn it. Uchiha Itachi, this bastard, actually assassinated the daimyo so blatantly. What the hell? Can't you hide it? You caused such a big disaster, but ended up implicated Kunza. Knock knock. The door of the Hokage's office was knocked. Outside, Umbu came to report. Hokage-sama, it's bad. The Umbu ninja was extremely panicked at this moment and said, the abbot of the fire temple, Dilu, is here. Judging from his appearance, it is very likely that something big has happened. Episode 85, Confused Sarutobi Hiruzen, Asuma killed the daimyo? In the Hokage's office. Before Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others could figure out the situation, the furious Dilu had already come here. Third Hokage. The bald Dilu was furious at the moment, staring at Sarutobi Hiruzen, and said, what exactly do you Konoha want to do? Konoha village wants to replace the fire country, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little dissatisfied with Dilu's attitude. After all, you are the abbot of the fire temple, and you need to respect yourself, but that's all. In terms of status, he, the third Hokage of Konoha village, is no worse than Dilu, the abbot of the fire temple. But the result? When he heard Dilu's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned by the question. Abbot Dilu, what are you talking about? Udatane Koharu came out to smooth things over and said, when did we Konoha have such an idea? Yes. Mito Kato Hamura also nodded repeatedly and said, Hiruzen and the daimyo have always been on good terms. How could we have such disrespectful thoughts? Opposite. Dilu glanced at the three people present. He seemed to want to see something on their faces. Sarutobi Hiruzen and others were confused by the look. Dilu, the abbot of the fire temple, what's wrong with him today? He suddenly got so angry and said such inexplicable words. They had dealt with Dilu before. In their memory, this monk was not such a violent person. Since you guys said Konoha doesn't have such an idea. Dilu glanced at several people, then stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen again, and asked coldly, then, what's the situation with third Hokage Sarutobi Asuma? Sarutobi Hiruzen felt more and more confused. Asuma, what's wrong with him? Why does it seem like Asuma has caused some trouble? It shouldn't be. Although Asuma doesn't listen to him much, he shouldn't have caused such a big disaster. Besides, when Asuma was a guardian ninja, he should have had a good relationship with this abbot. Why does Dilu have such an attitude towards Asuma now? Is the third Hokage playing dumb? Dilu sneered and said, in that case, please ask the third Hokage to call Sarutobi Asuma over and let him confront me face to face. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Mito Kato Hamura and the other looked at each other, only to feel that they were getting more and more confused. However, it seemed that Asuma was indeed in trouble. Asuma is not in Konoha now. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and said, I remember that he was a jonin and led a team to do a mission before. Well, it seemed to be a mission to find the lost pet cat for the daimyo's wife. Madam Daimyo? Dilu's face changed instantly, his thoughts kept changing, and his expression gradually became cold. Is that so? Huh. This makes everything clear. Opposite. Sarutobi Hiruzen and the other two were completely confused at this moment. What are you talking about? Can you explain to them clearly what happened? Third Hokage, Sarutobi Asuma, is very good at calculating. Dilu looked at the three people opposite coldly and said, on the surface, he is going to do a task for the daimyo's wife, but in fact, he is taking this opportunity to get close to the daimyo's wife, wanting to find out the situation of the daimyo, and then it is convenient to further murder the daimyo. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others were shocked. No, this. Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind was almost confused. Asuma wants to murder the daimyo, how could this happen? Asuma, that kid, how could he suddenly want to kill the daimyo? Third Hokage, Sarutobi Asuma, how could he suddenly want to kill the daimyo? Hokage still doesn't believe it, right? Do you not believe it, or do you want to deny it? Dilu sneered and took out a bloody object from his monk's robe. Then look at this, third Hokage, what is this? A palm-length curved knife. It has holes on it for fingers to pass through. The weapon belonging to Sarutobi Asuma, the double sword's flying swallow. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed, he took the flying swallow from Dilu, checked it carefully, and his expression became a little ugly. This is indeed Asuma's flying swallow. It is made of chakra conduction metal and is very valuable. There is no second pair in the entire ninja world. Abbot Dilu, what happened before? Sarutobi Hiruzen had a bad premonition in his heart, but he still didn't give up and continued to ask. It seems that the third Hokage is completely unaware, right? Dilu sneered and said, Sarutobi Asuma, he sneaked into the daimyo's mansion under the pretext of a mission, killed the daimyo, and then wanted to kill the daimyo's family. Fortunately, someone in the daimyo's mansion discovered the abnormality, which prevented Sarutobi Asuma's conspiracy from succeeding completely. Opposite. Sarutobi Hiruzen was completely stunned at this moment. After hearing what Dilu said, his brain almost went blank. Asuma, his own son, Sarutobi Asuma, he actually killed the daimyo? Really killed the daimyo? How is this possible? How could such a thing happen suddenly? Abbot D, is there any misunderstanding? Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed a little quickly, forcing his brain to work quickly, trying to explain, maybe someone disguised as Asuma and stole Asuma's flying swallow, or forged a pair of flying swallows, and then assassinated the daimyo and framed Asuma. Yes. It must be like this. How could Asuma suddenly kill the daimyo? How could I be wrong? Dilu's anger also came up, and he directly opened his monk robe, revealing his shoulders. Sarutobi Asuma and I used to work together in the 12 Guardian Ninjas, guarding the daimyo together. How could I be wrong? I saw Sarutobi with my own eyes. Asuma's face, that bastard, he almost killed me while running away. On Dilu's shoulder. The bandage was still bloody. The wound on my shoulder was cut by Fian. Dilu pointed at the Fian in Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand and said angrily, if I hadn't been prepared, I might have been killed by Sarutobi Asuma at that moment. Of course, this might be a good thing for you, third Hokage. Kill me, and then kill the others at the scene. This way, there will be no evidence, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed and he couldn't speak. He was really going crazy now. What the hell is going on? Asuma, that stinky boy, what did he do? Did he suddenly kill the daimyo? Third Hokage. Dilu said with a serious face, Konoha must give an explanation for this matter. First, hand over the murderer Sarutobi Asuma. Second, please ask third Hokage to give an explanation. Hokage, tell me clearly, is this Sarutobi Asuma the only one who did this, or is Konoha also involved? Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart skipped a beat. This matter has absolutely nothing to do with Konoha. As for Asuma, I will find him as soon as possible and find out the situation. Suddenly. No, this is not enough. A voice suddenly came from outside. Swish. A figure directly pushed open the door of the Hokage's office, ignored Umbu's obstruction, and walked in forcefully. Chief Abbot, this is not enough. Shimura Danzo said with a firm face, the situation is now very clear, it is Sarutobi Asuma who killed the daimyo. And Hiruzen, he is Sarutobi Asuma's father. How can such a thing be left to Hiruzen to deal with? Sarutobi Hiruzen changed color and glared at Danzo. Danzo, you suddenly come here to say this, what do you want to do? Humph. Shimura Danzo snorted coldly, not afraid at all. Hiruzen, I am Konoha's Hokage assistant. Konoha has such a big thing, why can't I intervene? Sarutobi Hiruzen was so angry that he gritted his teeth secretly. Damn it. If I had known this, I should have been ruthless before. Not only should I not allocate funds for the reconstruction of the route to Danzo, but I should have directly removed Danzo's position as Hokage assistant. It would also save him from causing trouble for me now. Hiruzen, it's your son who's in trouble now. Shimura Danzo no longer cared about the past relationship and sneered, if you, Sarutobi Asuma's father, were to investigate personally, who knows what the result would be? Who knows if you would cover up for your son? You. Sarutobi Hiruzen pointed at his old partner and trembled with anger. Danzo, this bastard. Now, his son Sarutobi Asuma is caught in such a big Uzumaki. And Danzo not only didn't help him, but also came to add insult to injury. Danzo, please stop talking. Mitokado Hamura couldn't stand it anymore and persuaded him. Chief Abbot, look at this. Shimura Danzo was even more excited when he saw this. Look at these people, they are all in the same group. If we let them investigate Sarutobi Asuma, how can we find out the real result? If we really leave this matter to them, the truth about the murder of the daimyo may be concealed by these people together. This matter cannot be left to them to investigate, we must replace it with another trustworthy person to investigate. Upon hearing this, not only Sarutobi Hiruzen, Mitokado Hamura, and Udatain Koharu are almost mad to death. Danzo, this bastard, is he going to turn against them completely? Konoha has such a big thing, Danzo not only does not agree with them, but also makes trouble for them in various ways. On the other side, Dilu looked at the people in front of him coldly. In this situation, he doesn't trust anyone. Sarutobi Asuma, who used to work with him, could assassinate the daimyo and almost killed him. How can these Konoha's high-level officials be trusted? Maybe, now these people are acting together for him. You are a Hokage assistant of Konoha, and suddenly at this time, you broke up with the Hokage and the advisors. Who are you trying to fool? You guys don't have to perform in front of me. Dilu said coldly, for the affairs of Konoha village, the daimyo mansion and our fire temple are not convenient to intervene. But Konoha must give an explanation for the death of the daimyo. Sarutobi Asuma, Konoha must also find him alive. Please give flowers. In his opinion, as long as Sarutobi Asuma is found, the truth will naturally be found out. And if Sarutobi Asuma died or has been missing, and there is no evidence, that would be enough to explain the problem. You? Shimura Danzo was stunned. He was acting? How could he be acting? He was clearly expressing his true feelings. He really didn't want to cooperate with Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others. He had already stabbed these guys in the back, and wanted to take the opportunity to come to power. Why didn't the stupid monk Dilu believe it? Don't worry, Abbot Dilu. Sarutobi Hiruzen barely breathed a sigh of relief, glared at Danzo, and said quickly, I will definitely find Asuma as soon as possible, find out the truth, and let the daimyo rest in peace. I hope so. Dilu snorted coldly, and said nothing more. He turned around and left. In the Hokage's office, there was silence for a while. Sarutobi Hiruzen's brain, which had been boiling just now, finally had a chance to cool down at this moment. The previously chaotic thoughts can finally be sorted out at this moment. Sarutobi Hiruzen ignored his son's affairs for the time being, and roared, glaring at Danzo, what do you want to do? This bastard. He almost got him killed just now. If Dilu hadn't thought that they might be acting, he would have been in trouble just now. Shimura Danzo looked gloomy, glanced at the three old partners present, and turned away without saying anything. Anyway, he had already torn his face with these old partners today. What else is there to say? If he can become Hokage, then everything is fine. And if not, anyway, his route is gone now, and there is nothing to lose. Mito caught Hamura aside and said, Hiruzen, you directly rejected Danzo's application for funds to rebuild the route before, which was a bit too much at the time. Yes, Hiruzen. Udatain Koharu also nodded and said, after all, Danzo's route did a lot of things. The route was suddenly gone, and you didn't approve Danzo's funds. How could he not have any objections? Sarutobi Hiruzen had a gloomy face and did not respond. He shook his head and said, let's not worry about Danzo for now. Let's figure out Asuma's matter first. This is the top priority. What the hell? What's going on? Danzo, his old partner, broke up with him. Asuma, his own son, also caused such a big mess for him. Now, I don't know if I can get through this level. My son is suspected of killing the daimyo. Even if he can barely get away with it this time, I'm afraid he will have to resign. It's really fucking annoying. At the same time, the land of fire. In a valley. Sarutobi Asuma's consciousness woke up from his coma. There was a crackling sound around. It seemed that a pile of firewood was burning. And next to the fire, there was a figure. Sarutobi Asuma barely opened his eyes and saw the figure, and his body shook violently. All the previous memories came to his mind. This bastard. Use Sharingan controls himself. Controlling himself, hiding his identity to kill the daimyo, and then deliberately exposing himself accidentally, and in the process of escaping, he almost killed Dilu. Sarutobi Asuma's face was pale, staring at the man next to the firewood pile, Uchiha Itachi. What are you going to do? How did I offend you? He has also seen the portrait of Uchiha Itachi, the S-level rebel ninja of Konoha. The iconic feature is the two deep tear grooves. Wake up. Imperial Itachi did not disguise his face, and showed his true face directly. How is it? How do you feel now? Fuck you. Sarutobi Asuma cursed directly. Still have feelings? This bastard controlled himself to kill the daimyo. That was the daimyo. To outsiders, it was Sarutobi Asuma who killed the daimyo. This bastard is obviously stronger than me, but he controlled himself to do such a thing, obviously trying to deliberately put the blame on me. Bang! Uchiha Itachi stood up, walked to Sarutobi Asuma, and kicked Sarutobi Asuma in the stomach, kicking Asuma to the point that his body hunched over. It's a pity that my mother is no longer here, thanks to your father. Sarutobi Asuma covered his stomach and curled up in pain. This bastard. He said it was thanks to his father. This bastard, is he here to seek revenge on me because of the extermination of the Uchiha clan? Damn it. If you want revenge, go find your own father. Why are you looking for me? The extermination of the Uchiha clan has nothing to do with me. Dad, I was really screwed by you this time, what a shame.